Welcome. Today we are going to talk about the Dr. Z Z-80. This amp is special. It sounds so good. It is, in my personal opinion, one of the best sounding Vox AC style amplifiers that I've ever heard. Now we do have presets and captures based on this amplifier for all kinds of devices. Line 6, Fractal, Tonex, Quad Cortex, Kemper, maybe more in the future. We'll see. That's all going to be linked below. That's not what this video is about, but I did want to let you know that those are available. We're not going to play through digital modeling of this amp in this video. We're just going to feature the amp. We've got a pedal board here on the floor, so we're going to run some pedals into it, but we'll have a good bit of just guitar straight into the amp as well. If you want to know more about those presets and captures, that's all linked below. There's another video where we mic this amp up and compare that to the presets and captures. We're not doing that in this video, but there is another one where we do that. That's all linked below. I've got this Telecaster. I'm running straight into the amp. I'm running through the board, but nothing is on. There's a gig rig G3, so essentially the cable goes into the gig rig, out of the gig rig, into the amp. The amp is running into a Dr. Z Z-80 cab. This Marshall 412 is here so I can have easy access to it. We're not running through the 412. Now my cab looks like a Z-Rec cab because that's what it technically is. The Z-Rec cab is a 212 open back with a Celestion gold and a Celestion blue. The Z-80 is the same construction, 212 open back, but two Celestion golds. So I actually reached out to Dr. Z and said, hey, if I put a second Celestion gold in this 212 Z-Rec cab, does that make it a Z-80 cab? And they said, it's exactly the same thing as a Z-80 cab. It just looks like a Z-Rec cab. So running this into the Z-80 cab, Celestion Gold. We're miking it with a Royer 121 and a Sennheiser MD 421. Those mics are then going into API style preamps and EQ. It's actually CAPI units. Love the way those things sound. So let's hear what it sounds like with this MJT Tele, Porter Vintage Tele pickups. I'll go through all the positions: neck, middle, bridge. Thing sounds really, really good. So this is my favorite setting on the amp. I call this like the edge of breakup. Perfect for a pedal platform. So you can hear if I dig in, the amp breaks up. If I play light, it gets really nice and clean and chimey.
So a little side note here, if you don't know, well, actually side note to the side note, make sure you subscribe. We got some cool things coming that we want you to know about. Brian and I used to live in the same state. We used to be about 45 minutes apart. We're in different states now. We wanted to have a little fun with this. We don't live in the same state, so I do not have the amp. So I'm recording the direct signal. Brian is reamping what I'm about to play through the actual amp. We just thought technology's too cool, too easy to do it. Let's give it a shot.
I want to tell you a little bit about the amp and its origin. Now, most of this info I've gotten from Dr. Z himself and information available on the amp that it's based on. So I'm going to link below. You can listen to me talk about this, or you can listen to Mike, who built the amp. He can talk about it, and I think it's better to hear it from him. So that video is linked below, sort of the origin of this amp. But it's based on I guess you could call it like a unicorn Vox AC style amp. Back in the early 60s, the Beatles were using AC-30s, and as the Beatles were playing to larger and larger crowds, they needed louder and louder amps. So I don't know if they started with an AC-15, but they were using AC-30s. And they asked Vox, like, can you build something louder? So Vox built this amp called an AC-80. It was an 80-watt amp. I think it eventually became known as the AC-100, or maybe the AC-100 was another iteration of it. But the earliest built AC-80s had a tone. It was a higher wattage amp, louder amp, and they sounded awesome. The problem with those amps is if you look up pictures of them, you can see it. And Dr. Z talks about this in his video. They were built in kind of this compact head unit. So there was a lot of heat generated from the amp, and it didn't really have anywhere to go. So those old original amps have a really high rate of failure. They didn't last very long, and not many of the original ones have survived. And Dr. Z said he thinks there might be about 100 of them in existence now that are fully functional. Brad Paisley actually came to Dr. Z and asked him, hey, can you build an AC-80 that's reliable? And it took him years. And the Z-80 is his homage to the AC-80, the AC-100 from Vox. Now, it has 4 EL-34 tubes. You might associate EL-34s with more Marshall-style amplifiers. And that sound, this thing, while it has those EL-34s, it very much sounds like a Vox AC style amplifier. I will say, and one of the reasons that I really like this amp is that it has like a more full body to it than a typical AC-30. AC-30s can get pretty bright and pretty thin. I actually have a 1964 AC-30 top boost with the top boost added to it. And that thing, when you dial it in, it sounds amazing, but it can be a beast to dial that in. This amp, it's almost hard to make it sound bad. So having said that, let's kind of take a look at the tone stack here, and you can see what it does, again, with the Tele. No pedals, just straight into the amp. We'll set the master right around 5. The volume here, this is like around, I guess, 2. And this is really going to be clean. We'll see how it sounds. We'll kind of set the tone stack, everything at noon. So as you can hear there, like hitting it hard on the bridge pickup, the amp is not going to break up here. It's going to sound pretty clean. Like I mentioned earlier, I like to run the master a little hotter. Turn that master up. what I hear when I, go from like 5 to right around here is that amp kind of comes to life a little bit. You can do that with the volume as well. So we'll take the volume and raise it up, and we'll see when that change kind of starts to happen in the amp. Yeah, I mean, it's like everything sort of starts to bloom a little more. There's more chime in the amp. So that's when I'm kind of first starting to learn what an amp does. That's what I listen for. Where does the thing come to life? And then from there you can start to tweak. So we ended up here at sort of my edge of breakup setting that I like to use, and then I like to push the master just a little bit. So as we get to about halfway up on the volume, you can hear the amp is really starting to break up. There's a little more compression that happens as well. We can back off the master and kind of leave the amp, cranked a little bit. What I find is if you back the master down while the amp is turned up like this, it kind of opens just a little more. But I still like what it does when you push this master just a little bit. I just feel like the amp it just has a little more sweetness to it. Let's keep going on the volume. What I'm going to do is drop some low end. Here you can hear the amp humming behind me. I'm going to drop some lows and add some treble. Often you'll need to do this when you turn an amp up. This thing stays nicely refined though as you crank it. Roll the volume back. I mean, this amp is almost all the way up, and it cleans up beautifully. Man, okay, let's crank it. Let's turn it all up to 10. Okay, that's why I don't like to turn the master all the way up. It's like the amp is kind of collapsing on itself. Now, we have it turned all the way up. Let's back it off just a little. That's a lot for this amp, but it still sounds pretty cool. As you can see, it's not like a high gain monster. Let's try it with a different guitar. Let's do a Les Paul. See what that sounds like. I'm about 9 on the volume here on the neck pickup. Sounds like this. So you can hear these humbuckers are pushing this amp quite a bit more than the single coils. So, we might back this down just a little bit to get a cleaner tone out of the bridge. Yeah. This thing doesn't want to stay in tune. So now we've heard it with a few different guitars. I want to hit it with some effects. So I like to have an always-on compressor. I know some people like that, some people don't. It's my preference. So the compressor is going to be on. Here's off. Here's on. Let's hit it with the protein, the blue side of a brown protein, and that will show us, so this is kind of a lighter gain drive. Green side of the protein is like an ODR1. I have this set to be like a little more aggressive. Okay, so really this whole exercise was to demonstrate that this thing sounds incredibly good. Taking drive pedals, you can stack these drives, it's going to sound great. Okay, so we've seen what it does gain-wise. Let's listen to the EQ stack. I did say it's kind of hard to make this thing sound bad. So the way Dr. Z has dialed this in, you don't have a ton of sweep with this EQ. It's kind of like everything is in the sweet spot. I really like it when amp builders do this. To me, it shows that they have really dialed this thing in to sound good, kind of almost in any setting. So I guess we'll stay here with the Les Paul. And I've kind of got it this edge of breakup. Right, so I'm just gonna start tweaking the EQ. Let's dump some bass and see how that sounds. So you can see bass is at 0. This is what I might think of like typically an AC-30 to sound like. They don't have a ton, they can, it depends on the era. But like the older vintage ones, they can be really bright and kind of thin on the bottom. Let's push the bass. So you can hear when the bass is all the way up, especially with a humbucker, like if you go to the bridge. Like that's just a lot, but it doesn't sound overwhelming. Like it still sounds nice. Like you could use that tone if you wanted something really warm. And that's on a neck humbucker pickup. All right, let's listen to what the mids do. We'll kind of set our bass right here where I like it. We'll dump the mids. See how that sounds. So you can hear with the mid control, like you can scoop it a little bit, you can push it a little bit, but it all kind of sounds, it's right where it all sounds good. All right, let's go to the treble and see how it sounds. We're kind of right up the middle. So again, when you turn the treble all the way up, let's do this. All the way up on the treble, all the way down on the bass. If you set an amp like this, a lot of times, it's just gonna be this nasty, shrill mess. This thing sounds like an AC-30. I mean, it sounds like a bright AC-30, but that's a tone that you might, use for a particular sound. So that is the Dr. Z Z-80, an exceptionally good take on the Vox AC-80, AC-100, and in my opinion, one of my personal favorite Vox AC style amplifiers. You know, the top 3 amps that I have ever played that I love based on an AC-30, which is kind of like my favorite amp style, right? It's going to be the Dr. Z Z-80. The Dr. Z Z-Rec is in there as well. I have one of those. It's an amazing sounding amp. And then there's the Matchless C30. I've long said the Matchless C30 is my all-time favorite amplifier. I don't think the Matchless C30 really sounds, I mean, it's based on a Vox AC-30, but it's a derivative of, like, it doesn't sound like an AC-30. This sounds more AC-30-ish to me than the C30. I have a C30 from 1994. It'd be kind of fun to shoot all these out. Maybe that's a video down the road we can do, like this amp compared to the Z-Rec, compared to the C30, compared to like a vintage Vox AC-30 and a more modern Vox AC-30. We have all those here, so we could do that. Let us know in the comments if you want that video to shoot these out. So my hat's off to you, Dr. Z. If you happen to be watching this video, I'm glad that you took the time, spent the years to develop this thing, because it is so good. I'll leave links below where you can purchase a Z-80. One of the things about amps that sound this good is, like, they're often not, you can't get them. Like an old C30, like you can get a Matchless C30, you gotta wait a while to get one, but like you can get a Dr. Z Z-80 right now. Like they're in stock at places. So, or I'm sure you could get one from Dr. Z. I don't know if they do direct sales, but I'm sure you could reach out and have one built if you wanted to do it that way. I'll leave links below where you can find them. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, we invite you to do so. We're going to do a lot more content like this on amps that we love. We're surrounded by amplifiers here, so we're going to make more videos. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.